Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Kusie, the Member of Parliament for Calgary Midnapore. I'm here today with J.R. Cox, who was the owner of the Shooting Edge, which unfortunately has had to recently cease all of its operations. J.R., thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for your time, Stephanie.
First of all, I just want to say I'm so very sorry about the Shooting Edge. It really was an institution here in Calgary Midnapore. I know so many of my constituents were members of the Shooting Edge, and I really know that it was just a central part of Calgary Midnapore. Every time I drove down McLeod Trail and I saw the Shooting Edge, I just always had a sense of peace that you were there and that it was there. And that it was just a steadfast part of our community and of our riding. And so I just want to say how incredibly sorry I am that the Shooting Edge has had to cease to exist at this time.
Well, thank you very much. After we just actually today is its 25th birthday.
Wow.
So it's sad that it's gone away, but for 25 years, I'm proud of that number, and I'm proud of the number of members we've had, and I'm equally proud of, we looked at our records, and then in 25 years, we've introduced more than 1 million people to the shooting sports. We looked at all of our non-licensed day passes and visitors and people we've taken through. In 25 years, I mean, that's a huge number.
That is definitely something that you should be proud of, that you've introduced so many people to this sport and to this lifestyle as well. I think that's something that you should definitely be very proud of. How are you feeling?
I think the sadness passed a few months ago when I realized I'd have to do this. Now the relief that it's done. And I would say if I'm bitter at anything, I'm just bitter at my landlord, but I'm really bitter at the Liberal government. The business and the whole industry and the whole shooting community has suffered greatly for political points of the Liberal and NDP coalition. And it's sad that we've been under such attack, because lawful firearms owners are we're lawful, right? And so we're an easy demographic to attack because they can keep piling on new laws and we keep following them, right? As opposed to going after smugglers or going after, the illegal use of firearms and increasing those penalties or harsh penalties. So it's just easy to keep attacking us. And so my business is part of the collateral damage.
I couldn't agree more with you. When I look at what I'm most concerned about, I sort of see two aspects. And the first one you touched upon, and that is the way that lawful firearms owners have been treated. And I was hoping you could perhaps share specifically some of the legislation that had a direct effect on both you and the community.
Well, I think the Liberals, they've really learned how to weaponize legislation. I mean, it started off when they started attacking the no pipeline laws, the no more tanker laws, and they realized that if they could put a chill into an industry through legislation, so they don't have to attack it directly, they do it surreptitiously. And so they did the same thing with the firearms industry. So back in 2020, when they brought out the first order in council, going after assault-style rifles, and my dad used to warn us, saying, if it says something style, you have to really look at what it is. Like if it's beef-style soup, how much beef is in it, right? So if it's assault-style anything, it's not an assault-style rifle. It's not an assault rifle. And so in 2020, when they did this first attack, I mean, that in the entire industry, for us, that took about over $1 million in sales, but it also froze about over $500,000 in inventory, right? With no warning. Like this was and they kept saying, oh, we're going to buy it back. Well, firstly, you didn't buy it to begin with, so you're not buying it back. I bought it. So it's compensation for confiscation. The second thing is it still hasn't happened. So I've been sitting on, in this one particular business, $500,000. And I can't even write it off because I went to CRA and said, well, I'm going to depreciate this. And they go, well, you can't, because there's a promised buyback. That asset's not depreciating. So I've been paying taxes on it for 5 years because it's an asset, right? So that's the first attack, is C20 or the OIC. Then we fast forward a couple of years, and then they hit us again with the handgun ban in Bill C-21. When it was first order in council and then legislation. And that was like, I would say now would be the deathbed. I should have really made decisions, tougher decisions back then. Because that cut about $2 million out of Calgary's operation. So now I'm down $3 million in retail sales. Yes, I mean, we did sell a lot of our inventory, but that's a quick blurb and then it's done. The follow-on now is there's no new members, right? So back then we had about 1,000 members. So we'd have about $600,000 in membership revenue. And that all goes to the bottom line because you look at it going, we're paying facilities, so it's fixed costs. But it doesn't matter what kind of club you have, whether it's badminton or karate. If you look at anything, most clubs will atrophy between 15 and 30% a year. You could be the best club in the world and you'll still lose 30% of your members every year. That's why you need new members. So you kind of keep topping up. Well, now with no handgun sales, there's no new members. So every year we atrophy about 25% of our members. So 2 years ago we were at 1,000. Now we're down to just under 600. Next year we'll be down at 400. So something's got to give. And so that's the thing. So now we're down all the membership value. We're down all the retail sales. And then we've got incredible inflation with landlords. And my building happens to be owned by a REIT, so by the TELUS Pension Fund. And for them, it's all about the asset. Whether they have a tenant or not, they don't care. So my rent itself has gone up from $61,000 a month. And like people go, a month? Yeah, a month. Now I'm paying $95,000 a month. And they told me it's going up next year.
That's a lot of money.
So when you think of it, if it goes up to 105 next year, I'm paying almost $1.3 million a year just in rent. And when you can only charge, a maximum for memberships, my memberships would have to be $3,000 each. And right now they're paying $550. So it's just not going to happen. So the whole industry is like that. When we talk to our representatives, like the agents in the market, like there's a chill in the air, like because we don't know what's going to happen next. And so it just got to the point I can't do it anymore, right? I just can't. I can't, lose my house over this operation.
Right. So you touched upon the legislation directly related to firearms owners and firearms distribution. Can you talk a little bit more now about, and you made reference to it in your last response, about how Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government treats small business owners? I come from a small business family, and we look at the changes to the tax law that he tried to make back in 2017, where he referred to small business owners as tax cheats.
Yeah.
Can you speak from that perspective, how you think Justin Trudeau is affecting business and small business, specifically here in Canada? Well,
I think you stole the words out of my mouth. Like they think, Christina Freeland, she subscribes to the French economists pool, where basically we should own nothing. It should all be socialist. The government owns everything, and then they give us what we need. Borderline communist. And we've seen how well that's worked out in the world. So when you have a federal government that thinks that as a small business owner, I'm already going to cheat. Like they've already, judge, jury, executioner, I'm a cheat. Remember, there's one tax representative at CRA for every 700 Canadians. In the U.S., there's a tax representative for every 4,000 Americans. Right? So for every 700 people in Canada, there's somebody looking at your taxes and thinking that you're a cheat. Like, it's amazing how many people we have in the CRA that we don't need. So when that government already thinks you're cheating, so that all their decisions and all their plans and all their rules are based around how to be punitive and be proactive to keep me from cheating, it makes it very onerous. Like, it's difficult, right? So they've institute a whole attack on small business, yet they're writing off huge sums to big corporations that they can't pay their whatever the taxes are, but they have deep pockets. They're international corporations. They have deep pockets. They could do it, but they've just got better lawyers. So we're the easy fish, right? So I can't remember the stats are, but was it 80% of all employment in Canada is in a small corporation? So you have that. This is the base is we're all cheaters. And then you've got the layer of communism and socialism on top of that. So economically, where Canada is being boxed in because of these policies based on, liberal pandering to the NDP.
Right. And of course, we've just seen the NDP break their coalition with the government. However, they have yet to support it on confidence vote, so really they are still supporting the government. After all that you have been through with the shooting edge, and given that this is the 25th anniversary today of the shooting edge, what would you like your message to Justin Trudeau to be, specifically around the shooting edge's inability to exist? What would you say to him directly, if you could say to him face to face today?
Well, the first thing I have to keep reminding myself is the government is not the country, right? So the Liberal Party and the Liberal government is not the country. I'm a proud Canadian, has nothing to do with politics. And once I embrace that, remember that, and stop thinking, oh, separation. It's like, nah, government's separate. I love my country. Justin Trudeau, I can't wait to the day that you are out of power and you lose all of your perks and your beautiful little driven chauffeur cars that we're paying for, so you can get out there, because I know you've never had a real job, right? And see what it's like to actually have to pay taxes on something and wait in line for something and have to wait for medical because you keep hurting the provinces to be able to do that, and actually see people who are homeless or doing drugs because of your government policies allowing decriminalization. Like all of these things that Trudeau and his group of merry lawbreakers have done to try to ruin this country. And they can damage it, but Canada's we have a strong backbone. And as much damage as they've done, we can repair it, because they're just the government. They're not the country.
I love that. I think that's just a wonderful message of hope to Canadians. So that's your message to Justin Trudeau. What would you like to say to Canadians after this experience that you've been through?
Well, I would say personally, my personal thing is I'm an Albertan and I'm a Calgarian. Calgarians, this isn't a city of quitters. Like, we're not. Canada has thrived, because of Alberta and our tenacity, and we just don't give up. So yeah, Trudeau he's kicked me down and I've fallen down, but I'm going to be able to dust myself up, and we'll learn from the experience, and we'll come out swinging, and we'll be better. We'll be better from the experience, and so I think Canada, again, like the same thing. Canadians will learn. We're knocked down, but we're not out. We'll learn from the experience. I just hope people don't forget so quickly this time about this experience, because it's been a pretty nasty experience. So don't forget it. You don't have to be traumatized by it, but we have to move on and not forget, so we don't quite quickly try to give these criminals really the reins again.
In the future, when we do have a conservative government led by Pierre Poilievre, who respects small business, who respects lawful gun owners, do you ever see the shooting edge coming back?
I had an interesting conversation with my bank saying, this is done, but he says, we got to make sure we buy a building next time. I would see that, but I need a change of government. I need a change of government, and I need to have handguns back, legislation, so it allows me to grow membership. As long as we get those kinds of pieces, I could see it. I mean, I loved what we did. I stuck it out a lot longer than I should have, because I have a passion for the shooting sports and our gun culture in Canada. We have an amazing gun culture in Canada that's positive and lawful and joyful. So I could see that.
Well, that's very exciting to hear. JR, on behalf of our leader, Pierre Poilievre, and the Conservative Caucus, I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me here and sharing your experience, sharing your message to not only the Prime Minister, but to Canadians. Thank you so much for being here with me today. This is Stephanie Kusie with JR Cox, the owner of the former Shooting Edge, which unfortunately has now ceased to exist as a result of Prime Minister Trudeau's terrible laws towards lawful gun owners and small business.